Hey! What is up, everybody? So I am back with Kat for another Kat's Cooking Corner. Kitchen Corner.
Kat's, whatever we're calling it.
Something like
it's
that.
Different every time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Keep them guessing.
Alright, so I hope that you guys enjoyed last month's version of this, in which we made the Oreo truffles. Now we're coming back today to make you
chocolate dipped s'mores. But the really cool thing about these chocolate dipped s'mores are what they don't have in them, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So we were making dinner for some friends, and I wanted to take over a dessert with the dinner. And the friends that we were cooking for were nut-free. And as you all know, we are gluten-free. And I just don't really have the ability to purchase anything to cook for anybody in my home that's not gluten-free, because I just don't do it. I'm so used to cooking gluten-free. So we needed things that were gluten-free and nut-free. And
which is a really great combination.
Yeah, really great combination. All of my go-tos that I was going to make, even down to the rice flour, were not produced in a nut-free facility.
And that might seem like a really tiny, insignificant detail to some people, but those living with an allergy...
not to the nut-free people.
Yeah, especially when you're making something that could have cross-contamination, make sure that you check all the labels for things like, oh, this is a gluten-free certified facility or nut-free certified facility, because those things are actually very important and you need to check for them.
And sometimes they will say, produced in a facility that produces nuts but on separate equipment. So you can always look for that separate equipment identifier.
You just gotta look for it.
But what we found as we were sort of trolling through the grocery store was a product that I've used before that I love. These are Knick, and they're called S'morables. And they are gluten-free graham crackers.
Yeah.
So when Rachelle was little, I used to have to make these from scratch. And now I don't have to.
Yay. Yeah.
So when we found these, we started thinking, what could we do with them? And we also found chocolate chips, which are, believe it or not, dairy, nut, and soy free. Not really sure what's in them, but they don't have dairy, nuts, or soy. So these are good for a lot of different food allergies, so maybe you can see that. They're by Enjoy Life.
And it's made on all safe equipment, which is awesome.
It's good. So we thought, in fact, it says, made in a certified nut and gluten-free facility, right on the back. So yeah, 2 thumbs up. So we were sort of thinking, what can we do? Rochelle said, what if we made chocolate dipped Oreo? I saw a recipe for these on TV once. And so I went online and looked it up, and I found it, and it was exactly what Rochelle was proposing that we do. So we made them.
Smart.
She's so smart. So we made them, and they really turned out so cute. And I tasted them while I was making them because, you know, test for poison.
Obviously.
And they were great. So they're really easy. They don't require any baking, just like last time. So we thought we'd give that a try today.
Yeah. And we will take you step by step, and we will show you all the ingredients. So I am going to start with that right now. We're going to need some quality marshmallow fluff.
And it says on the label, it says produced in a nut-free facility, and it's gluten-free. So we felt like we were safe with that.
And then for the top, for just like a garnish and to make it fun, we use sprinkles. You can use any type of sprinkles that you choose. We're using nonpareils.
They do make sprinkles that specifically say that they're gluten-free, so that's an option.
Yeah, so the first thing that we're going to do,
first thing we're going to do is melt the chocolate, because it has to be cooled. So I like to just get this going so that then I know that's cooling off while I'm making the other parts of the dish. So I just have a glass bowl, you can see it either way, with the chocolate chips. You just put some water in a pot and get it steaming and boiling, and you put the bowl over it and stir it till everything melts. You just want to make sure that the bowl does not touch the water. So that's what we're going to start with, and actually what's great about having, again, more than one person is you can kind of be double duty and doing things in parallel. So let's get started melting the chocolate.
So Kat, would you like to describe what you're
Sure,
doing here?
yeah, I'm just melting the chocolate. I've got my glass bowl over some boiling water, and one thing that's key is to have something to hold on to the glass with, because you really don't want to get yourself burned, and you will. And I'm just stirring, stirring, stirring. It's kind of slow. It starts off not really doing anything, and you're scratching your head going, there's no way this is going to make a dipping chocolate. But it does. And once it starts, it goes pretty quick. I think the key is just to really keep stirring it, and it worked really great, and it went really fast. And it's so smooth and yummy creaminess. Look at that. Oh, yum, yum, yum. Another alternative is just to eat all the chocolate straight out of the bowl.
Very tempting.
But I don't recommend that if you really want to make the recipe. Okay, that looks pretty good. So it's just really, really, really super smooth. And I'm just going to take it off of the heat.
Like Kat said, make sure that you are not coming in direct contact with the bowl because that will hurt your wool.
Yeah, so I've just got it sitting there, and it's just going to cool, and we'll put together the marshmallows and graham crackers and get those in the freezer so they'll be ready to dip.
All right, we're back.
So we've got our chocolate cooling, and now we're ready to get our fluff onto the graham crackers and get them in the freezer. They don't just stay in there long, but it really does help when you're dipping the chocolate to have those really sort of firming up and staying together. When I saw this done, the recipe that I saw that was the Pioneer Woman on Food Network, she used one of these scoops, which I have and I love, but I really found that the fluff didn't come out of it well. So I just used
Mini spatulas.
And it will be messy. There's
no getting around it.
no getting around it.
Roll
It
up
will
your
be
sleeves.
messy. Roll up your sleeves. And
Roll up.
actually, if we're both doing this, we can both use one, and you can kind of cheat a little bit. So you get the fluff, which now that it's been in the refrigerator for a little bit, it's gotten a little bit harder to work with. But all I did really, again, it's not pretty, it doesn't need to be pretty because it's going to be covered up, is to get the fluff on the graham cracker, and then I just took the second graham cracker and just kind of wiggled it around a little bit till it was sort of, I don't know if you can see that, I'm wearing a white sweater, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that you can see that it's just sort of spread all around the graham cracker.
I've never done this recipe. Last time she made it all by her lonesome. So I'm kind of apprehensive.
I gave them all away. Basically, with the one bag, the standard bag of chocolate chips, I was able to coat 8 really beautifully smooth. I did 4 more, but they were fine, but the chocolate sort of didn't go quite as far, so I had to take a spoon and kind of move it around, and so that led to a little bit, I only wanted one, oh sorry, led to a little bit of a less smooth surface on top, but didn't affect how they tasted. But just as a guide, I think, you know, for one bag, like a standard 12-ounce bag of chocolate chips, you can get about 8 of this size, which is like a 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch square. These are small, these are sort of bite size. That's just the size of the graham crackers. So we're gonna put these in the freezer so that the fluff will sort of get hard again, and then we can dip them.
Yep.
And I think Rachelle might just be licking the spatulas, but.
What would make you say that?
Oh, I don't know.
We're back. Okay, so.
Oh, no jazz hands? Sorry.
Okay. So basically we just took a little break from filming so that we could let these actually.
Pardon me. So now they're nice and
They're firm.
they're firm.
And we've got our chocolate, which has had sufficient time to cool.
Yep.
And here's the big cool deal about chocolate In the last video that we made, we used candy melts, which dry super fast and is part of their magic. Chocolate, on the other hand, takes a little bit longer to actually harden, which is why it's better to use chocolate in this scenario, so that you really have time to cover everything, because it is, you know.
And it's a s'more.
Yeah, and
chocolate for the s'more. Now, a couple of variations that you could probably do. You could probably put a layer of peanut butter on one of the graham crackers before you put it on top of the fluff.
Yeah.
And you know, that type of thing, you can play around with it. So
let's just get right into it.
Let's just get right into it. So I got the s'more. I'm just going to dip it in the chocolate, and I'll show you how that goes. Okay. There's no way to do this without making a mess. I'm just warning you, so have fun with it. Just dunk the s'more into the chocolate like that, and you can kind of play around. You may have to take a spoon and do a little bit. You definitely want to make sure your hands are clean, and then kind of tap off the edges or scrape off the edges. Get it on your parchment paper, and then just finish it up. You can use your finger if you need to, spoon it over there.
Just to make sure that it looks
and there you go.
clean.
Now, if you're going to add any sprinkles, now would be the time to do that, and just put them right on top. And then when they go back in the freezer, they'll harden in there. And you want to move relatively quickly. It might be like what I found was helpful is to work in really small batches. So even if you make a lot of the graham cracker and marshmallow combo to start out with, maybe just take a few out of the freezer at a time so that you don't have to worry about the marshmallows starting to get soft again and oozing out. So you can see they're pretty without the sprinkles or with the sprinkles. Either way, you could do chopped nuts on top, you could do colorful sugars, candy hearts.
Just make sure to keep in mind that if you are trying to make this a nut-free dessert, I would not recommend putting chopped nuts.
Don't do the chopped nuts if you're going for the nut-free. Yeah, good one.
That's kind of common sense, but you know, figured we'd put that safety announcement out there.
And I also do want to say on that point that if you do have any food allergy, or you're cooking for people that do, or you're just trying to stay away from things, just because today we're using the products that we're using and the labels say that they're safe, that doesn't mean that next week they're going to be safe. Companies do change their ingredients all the time, and you really need to be vigilant about reading the labels every time you purchase. And I know that firsthand. We used to buy an ice cream. We bought it for years. We loved it. It was no problem. And then one day I happened to read the ingredients, and there was a flavoring agent that was now suddenly derived from wheat. And I didn't know that. So I never bought that flavor again. And I've read other stories where people have same thing. Something that's always been gluten-free, it's always been fine, it's always been safe. And then, you know, whether it's what's available to the manufacturers, not everything's always available, or the cost. I think anybody that is eating on any kind of a allergy-friendly diet can tell you that those foods tend to be a lot more expensive. So sometimes manufacturers make decisions to change the way they make products because it's too expensive. So just a warning that, again, just because we're using these products today doesn't mean they'll be safe tomorrow. So the good news is I think companies are being more and more accommodating to people with food allergies. So hopefully you won't have a problem finding the ingredients that you need, but just be really careful. I do think it's really fun to take recipes that you may see on a cooking show or in a magazine and adapt them for your specific food allergies. It's just something that we've had to do by necessity. And now, especially for gluten-free, companies are making really amazing flour blends. So you can still use your own flour blends if the recipe calls for it. A lot of times in cookbooks, they will say, you know, use for these recipes. Here are our chocolate dipped s'mores. So we can have s'mores any time of year and we don't need a fire. Which is terrific. And they're fun and they're fast. And I think you can see that if you were having a party or you needed to bring something, these would travel really easy. If you're doing a potluck or you need to bring something for a bake sale or for teacher appreciation, you just pop them in some Tupperware, put the lid on, they're good to go. They just have to stay cold until they're ready to be served so they don't, you know, fall apart and ooze. But in the meantime, enjoy.
Okay, so we have just put those back in the freezer so that they can, you know, harden with the chocolate actually on them. And there was something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, just another piece of advice. I recommend using one hand to dip in the chocolate and keeping another hand clean because you never know when the phone's gonna ring or something like that happens and you need that free hand. It also allows you to use your spoon to help with the coating process without getting the spoon a mess, and it's just a little extra piece of advice.
Practical Solutions brought to you by Kat.
Ding.
Alright, so that is pretty much it for this month's video. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this second segment of Kat's cooking / kitchen corner.
Whatever we decide to call it.
It'll get there someday. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already in the comments below. We'd love to hear if you tried this recipe or the previous one and how that went for you.
We would love to hear that.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys soon. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.